Well, hello, boys and girls. Welcome again to When I Feel Like It O'Clock. I've been getting a little trouble by the Hymies people because I haven't been pushing their product enough, and so should I, considering the vats that they give me to do this thing. Hymies Body Lube, it's the best there, I said it. Okay, so I have done Nashville, Pittsburgh, and what else did I do? Nashville, Pittsburgh, and Toronto. I did Toronto and New York Rangers. My NHL Pearls of Wisdom, you can check that out. Also with the top 10 coaches in the league, and I did a Crosby one. My NHL Pearls of Wisdom, check it out if you could. Hit the subscribe button, because the more subscribers I get, the more views I get, the more people get to enjoy this wonderful programming. So today I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers. I just had a discussion on Twitter about the Edmonton Oilers, and the discussion, of course, was we're going back to that Hall trade again. It's amazing the people that there's like two sides. There's people that say they would do that trade in a heartbeat now, and there's people like me who say no, I would not. Just imagine if you had Hall right now, with expansion coming up, with all the defensemen that are going to be available and forwards and everything. I mean, they traded Hall at a time when the market was stagnant. And that's why they only got Larson. Apparently, it was something to do with they didn't like his leadership going forward, and that he was becoming a distraction in the dressing room. I just find it so hard to believe you couldn't wait a year, 1 year. And you had to sell so low. But anyways, that's not what this is about. This is about the Edmonton Oilers and what they're going to do now for the summer, what their plans are, which direction that they're going. Last year, of course, the big thing was that they needed to improve their defense, and they sure kind of did. We unfortunately had to give up Hall to get a 3-4 defenseman in Larson. But that being said, and he's a 3-4 defenseman, and he's a pretty decent one at that. He's a good one at that. The best thing about their defense now is they have Benning. Benning has come leaps and bounds, and he will be their top 4. I would not doubt that if Larson is pushed down to the third pairing once Nurse and Benning become what they're going to be. Nurse is probably going to be as good, maybe as good as Clefbaum, and Benning is going to be definitely a top 4. Now, here's the other thing, of course, when you're talking about the Oilers' defense is what do you do with Russell? I think he's no more than a 5'6" defenseman, and if you're going to pay him more than that, you're paying too much. So I would see him out, and then maybe you can start looking for a defenseman to replace him for a top 4. If you're going to sign Russell, sign him for a short term, and try to draft a couple defensemen to replace him in the short term. Not a bad idea, I guess. I wouldn't, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. What they're really going to need, actually, funny this year, complete flip from last year, I think, is they're going to need some wingers to complement their forwards. Desjardins is likely not going to sign again, and he's likely gone. They have, that young college kid, geez, his name is Caliglia, or whatever the hell his name. It's freaking, gotta stop doing this at around o'clock. Anyways, I think he's going to be excellent. Which, of course, when you start talking about their wingers, the thing that you're left with is, what do you do with Eberle? I think this is what I would do. It sounds like they're going to trade him. And if you want to go to, I do a video on my NHL Pearls of Wisdom on Eberle and what you should, as well. You might want to check that out, but I'll kind of highlight it a little bit here. The problem with trading Eberle right now is that he had a poor playoffs and his value is probably pretty low. Now, there's a few things you need to know about Eberle. First of all, he played on a shutdown role for the Oilers primarily. He played with Nugent Hopkins, who is a very good two-way center, and he played a two-way game. Miraculously, he did that without going into the corners too often, and not enough, and playing pretty much a perimeter game. He also got 50 points playing that perimeter game, which means he's extremely skilled. So what I would do in this situation is, I would shop him to a certain extent, but you're going to have to sell low. But if somebody like the Islanders wants to come out and give you Hamanuk or something like that, maybe you take that into consideration. But I think likely what I did, because you got paid, if you're going to have to either get another right winger back, or you got to go with that kid again, Palu Harvey, or whatever the heck his name is. And which I didn't really like that draft pick, but he could turn out all right. Maybe not next year. I think it's possible that you might keep him for at least during the year, because he's got a $6 million a year contract. He could break out a little bit in the first part of the year, and then maybe look at trading him then. Possibly, again, as I mentioned, trade him to Vegas. Vegas might have a lot of players that they won't need. If you're going to trade him, you're going to want to get an older winger back, somebody in his 30s, so Palu Harvey can develop at a pace that is good for him, and you can probably remove that player as quickly as possible. Who that player would be, I'm not sure. People are talking about Williams in Washington. I think he's a little older than you need to be, but I have a feeling Vegas will be able to pick a few of those players, take a few of those players off other teams that need to get rid of some salary, and won't be too expensive for the Oilers to use if they're going to trade Eberle. For the Oilers, that's basically what I'd be looking for this year in the summer. I wouldn't be going over the top. See what you got. Continue growing as a team. This team is going to be a playoff team next year. I wouldn't be going too much for their defense. I would let this team gel still. I also did another one on the Oilers called the Oilers Cohesion. You might want to check that out. I still think they're in the cohesion stage. They need to gel and become better as a team as a whole. That's probably my full 42%, and I'm going over my time. My NHL Pearls of Wisdom. Have a great day, everyone. Lots of love to ya.